I made this video the day after the debate. I made it on 9/11, ironically. Watch it, think about it, and realize that we have to get more people involved. We have to get the people who stayed on the couch, we've got to get them involved. The people who say that, they just don't care about politics, they're not interested. Well, politics is going to care about them real quick. We got to get more people involved. So think on that and see what you can do about it. And if you're active duty military, as a veteran from a line of veterans going back to the Revolutionary War, I simply ask you to remember your oath. Here's the video. I'm a 56-year-old rural gun-owning white guy, and if Kamala Harris thinks I'll vote for her, she's right. Made a quick video this morning before I went to work, but it wasn't good enough, so I got to try again. When I was in middle school, I was in a very small school, 14 people in my class, and we had this teacher, Mrs. Heimbaugh. She made us read things like Tale of Two Cities, The Diary of Anne Frank, and then we discussed them in class. The Diary of Anne Frank has stuck with me all these years. The parts that stuck with me is the image of this family living in somebody else's attic and having to be quiet as a mouse whenever the Gestapo came around looking for them, and how they eventually were rounded up anyway because somebody informed on them. That's what that exchange made me think about. At 33 minutes into the debate, David Muir said, "You called this the largest domestic deportation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard, and if things got out of control, you would have no problem using the military." Trump interrupted and said, "with local police." Muir continued, "You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? Take us through this. Would authorities be going door to door in this country?" Quietly and quickly, Trump said, "Yeah." And then he proceeded into one of his usual rants about Biden and open borders and stuff. I think it's significant that Trump quickly and quietly said yeah and moved on, because I don't think he wanted us to think much about that exchange. See, in order for what he's talking about to happen, he has to have his own version of the Gestapo. Imagine what that looks like. Trump's Gestapo going door to door in America looking for immigrants. What makes an immigrant? How do these people know they're immigrants? That's the scary part. He's going to be rounding up anybody that doesn't fit the description that he likes. That description, judging by Trump's history, being white. Sounds a little dystopian, and if you're a Trump supporter and you're listening to this, you think I'm being stupid and blowing things out of proportion. Am I though? It's not that far-fetched if you think about it. He's not going to be able to deport all those people because you can't just put them on a plane and fly them somewhere, because the country of destination is going to say, "No, you can't land. Go back home." So that ain't going to work. He's going to put them all in camps. He said that. He calls them immigration camps. I call them concentration camps. I hope somebody in the media and the podcast and all that will start talking about the implications of having Trump's version of the Gestapo going door to door in America. There you have it.
On the ground. On the ground. Are you finished? Are you finished? We don't play this game. You understand me? If you try to kick me, oh, this is gonna be bad.
I'm going home.
Stop.
Hands up!
and people were hanging out the side, pounding on the side, saying police, police, police.
Hands up! Turn around. Turn away from the sound of my voice.
The next thing I knew, there were 6 armed people pointing rifles at me.
Stop moving and stop looking back. Stop looking back!
Who am I?
Turn away! Turn around and discuss.
Turn away, you're gonna get hit.
There is a terrible mistake going on here. They're like, you know who we are. We know who you are. I'm like, who am I? They're like, Carol Ann Rozak. I said, that is not who I am.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to keep this brief because this is bigger than me. You guys saw the video I just included from the one gentleman. There's the video of the Colorado police breaking an elderly woman's shoulder. And then another lady. Turn away from the sound of my voice, the way that they're treating these elderly women. And there's even other videos to where you can watch police, kicking women in the head. And I saw that gentleman's video this morning and I felt compelled to make my own because I care deeply about this country. He was talking about having gone to school. The gentleman and I are about the same age. He's probably a couple years older than I am. I'm 55 years old. I don't really care if people dox me or know who I am. And the reason why is because I care about the type of country that I live in and that I leave behind. I had gotten in some trouble when I was younger, and so they didn't let me join the military in this country. I went down to enlist on 7 different occasions, and having gone to Mexico and proven that I was capable and able to do the work that you would have to do in the military to confront armed subjects that are going to kill you, I've proven that here, if they didn't let me join, it was only because of them. It was not because of my commitment, my resolve to being a good person. I grew up with gangs, and the guy was talking about how he grew up in a rural America. I grew up with gangs, and I grew up with white power gangs. I went to school with Bloods and Crips, and I wasn't going to be victimized. And I'm saying this message to every white person, every black person, every Latino, and every Oriental, whether you're Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Southeast Asian, whatever, we all have families and people that care about us. And I did go to school in the same era, or época in Spanish, that gentleman went to school in. And I grew up too, reading A Tale of Two Cities. My teacher was Mrs. Osmondson. And I also read the Diary of Anne Frank, and so I'm sitting here and I'm watching the stuff from the Civil Rights Lawyer. I watch stuff from Shots Fired podcast. I watch stuff from all over. And having gone down, and I see what's going on with this country, and having gone down to enlist on all those occasions, I care deeply about this country and where it's going. I care about freedom. I care about saying something, and to be honest, growing up in white power gangs and stuff like that, which I did do, and then leaving all that far behind, which I did do, I don't want to have to put my name out there, but where we're at as a society, where we're at as a whole, is what you get when people become spoiled, lazy, and apathetic, which I myself have been, because let's face it, who likes politicians? Nobody does. Nobody likes politicians. They want something from them. They're professional liars, all of them. I myself in Mexico have guarded several politicians. And I don't want to burn myself, but I have to say something, because if you're a man, or even a decent human being, I'm going to leave women out of it, but it's particularly us men, our entire function in society is we are the ones that create the stop there, like the Big Lebowski. That aggression shall not stand, man. And I've been joking about that the last few days, but there are things going on in society that sooner or later we as men are going to have to speak up and say, whoa, that's not okay. And I've talked about it before, and I'm going to say it again. There is a thing going on. When you go to work in Mexico against the cartels, and originally I started this channel because I took issue with another one of my brothers from Mexico that came to the United States, and he's been saying some stuff, but really, the way the world is evolving, it's bigger than even he and I, and any issues I have to, any axe I have to grind with him. You're watching people like the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab and others go to Davos, the world's richest oligarchs, technocrats, and all these other people deciding how they're going to run our lives. And to be honest, I'm not even afraid of armed cartel members at this point. I'm more afraid of mega billionaires with a God complex that have an army of drones that are going to just send them and just take people out indiscriminately. I mean, that's a dangerous thing. Basically, I've been a libertarian my whole life, conservative leaning, usually voting for, having had voted for Trump, having not liked black people for their skin color in my life when I was younger. I've done a lot of things, but I've matured a lot in my life. I have people that love me and care about me, and I love and care about them too. And I'm sure the same is true for you too. I'm saying this video honestly because I want to be open with you. I can't be apathetic. I have to make this video. I have to say what's on my mind and my heart. I'm going to school, continuing to try to become a lawyer in the United States. I went to school in Mexico. And I have to say something. I cannot be apathetic, because when we are apathetic, we let other people with sinister or selfish motives run rampant, and that cannot be allowed to happen. And then, as I was saying, you have this John Wick attitude amongst police officers, many of whom have never even been in the military, that want to be the tough guy and want a chance to exert themselves on others in ways that are not honorable. When you go to work in Mexico, you put on that uniform, you know that it could very possibly be your end. That if they catch you, they're going to torture you and kill you. And even when you get off work, or even if you retire, that's never going to go away. But in the United States, you have people that have never even been in a firefight, put on a uniform, and then all of a sudden have a mini God complex. And you see it when they're laughing, as in that other video, breaking a 73-year-old lady's arm, whether she was shoplifting or not, snapping an elderly woman's arm. And then, to make matters worse, their co-workers sitting right next to them, good job, buddy, laughing about it. Laughing about it. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if we were a whole bunch of people sitting in here in my little shop, white, black, and Latino. Every single one of us would take issue with that, because a man does not pick on things weaker than they are, or anyone. A man minds their own business and does right by his family. So, I grew up with my background, and if I can come full circle and become responsible, pay all my bills, have my house, have a wife that loves me, have not lived a perfect life, but I need to step up. I'm continuing school, and then I need to go down and figure out what I can do politically, even with all my baggage and stuff like that. I don't want my stuff all out there. To figure out how I can help fix this, because you can't let this country turn into a bunch of psychopaths that have been empowered with the impunity, legal impunity that a uniform gives them, chomping at the bit to inflict themselves on even elderly women, to where we all wind up like Anne Frank. all slaves and depending on the mercy of a billionaire oligarch technocratic class that talks about us behind our back in Davos and doesn't even have reporters there. Or now the new Palantir, they want to have a database. I program and stuff like that, and there's a thing called MySQL. And it's a program that allows you to tabulate or formulate tables and stuff like that with data in it. And before you have any application that you're going to build, you have to have a database with data sets in there that you're going to use to get the answers that you need for the application that you want to build. But they want to take all of these things and combine them, Social Security, bank accounts, everything, and then give it to one person to control. And that's not a good way to go. I have to be careful about what I say, not because I'm suggesting anything illegal, but because I want to make sure that people hear me clearly. Where do we go from here? Look, I know how to do what I know how to do at work, and I make a decent living, and I'm sure you do too. We all drive nice vehicles. We got people that depend on us. We take care of them. What I want to tell you, I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you speak a different language than me. None of us had anything to do with any of that. I want you to please think about what you can do to prevent one person from having all the power to where we get to live in a free society. I want you to go to your church and create church communities, right? Whatever religion you are, whatever faith you are, whatever color you are, go and create and strengthen your church communities, because that's who we depend on as local government, not some monstrosity 3,000 miles away. And if someone that's made as many mistakes as I have in the past can go down to Mexico to serve, like that guy said, he's a veteran. I'm not a veteran here, but in Mexico I am. Confronting people that want to give our children drugs, and someday it might cost me my life, and if it does, that's okay, because I made that decision when I just made a decision to go do something. And to be super honest, my wife isn't going to like this, but most of the people in my family only live to be 63 years old or so. So, you know, if I'm 55, I don't have a long time left anyway. My videos aren't monetized. I'm not here because I want to slam on Ed, even though that $1,000 is still up there. This is bigger than all of that. I don't want to live in a society where people have to hide in the walls. And to be super honest about the migration thing, what the people doing in LA is wrong. When you're destroying people's person or property, it's wrong because people worked hard for it. Also, what the authorities are doing is wrong. When you are going around breaking old ladies' shoulders, when you're going around kicking handcuffed ladies in the face, when you're going around, step away from the sound of my voice, acting like stormtroopers, you are weakening the bond that police should have in society. And don't get me wrong, being a libertarian, I'm more leaning towards anarchy and not the anarcho-communist stuff. That's not me. I'm more of like an anarcho-capitalist, free-form markets and stuff. But even that I have to question, because when one person gets too much money and then they want to buy up all the water like Nestle does, without rambling too much, this is just where I'm coming from as a person. Whether you agree or not, that's okay, but that's where I'm at. This is just Dave being honest, right? And even if you're a cop, if you're the military, if you're ever anyone that I've ever had something bad to say about, we are men, right? That Constitution, it matters. It's supposed to matter. I mean, that's what you guys say, what I say, what we take an oath to. It's the rules that we agree to live by. And even agree, some people never did agree, but if you swore an oath to it, you agreed to it. Okay? I'm going to button it up with this. I agree in living in peace at all costs. I have seen many, many, many brutal things and many, many, many dead bodies, and I don't want. I've seen enough of them, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. I don't want people living in the walls, hiding. I don't want people seeing brutality in the street because there's people that say a civil war is coming to our home. In Mexico, we live with war every single day, and then when I come and I bring my wife here, and I'm thinking, cool, we can have peace. Peace. And then I watch people trying to destroy that peace on both sides, right? There was a point I wanted to make, and it's escaping me at the moment because there's just so much with this. But really, you have to decide what side of the fence you're on. Oh, that's the last point I wanted to make. As far as deploying the military to the street and suspending habeas corpus, everything that gentleman said in there, this is a very important point. I'm going to close on this. They're using the military, which are trained to kill, which is their primary function. When everything is broken down, you send the military in to kill. They are not law enforcement. They shouldn't be in the street. And once they get in the street, they're going to stay in the street because the federal government's never going to relinquish that power. And we work that way in Mexico with Bases de Operaciones Mixtas. Ed's talked about that several times. I've been included in that. That power is never going to go away. That is the end of free society. That is the end. Okay? Because you just now told the government that if people get out of line, and the person from Palantir, the chief officer, he talks about removing enemies and stuff like that. They talk about it like it's no big deal. And these techies, they've never personally taken a life. They've never been there when a life has been taken, but they're talking about your life, my life, other people's lives, our families' lives, like they're chickens for sale, which is what they're doing, is selling fear, okay? And as far as all the illegals, undocumented, however you want to phrase it, they're just human beings looking for food. And I understand that there's a finite amount of resources, and that every country in the world controls the influx and sometimes even the exit of citizens that they claim ownership over or dominion over. But putting boots on the ground is not the way to go about it. You could suspend business licenses. You could put business people in jail for hiring people that don't have the legal right to work in this country, but they're not choosing to do any of that. And all of this that we're dealing with right now was created by the government. They created it with the migratory invited visa farm workers during World War II. They created it right before I was born in the 1960s with two senators deciding that they're just going to ramp up migration and give our whole country away. Other countries aren't doing that, but they've done it here. And then most recently with Biden just opening the floodgates and letting everybody come, and there's billionaires behind that because there are NGOs set up to facilitate the movement of migrants from people all over the world into this country. So they fabricated this problem. They exacerbated this problem. And now they want to fix this problem that they made with violence levied against you, me, and my family, and your family, and everyone else. And it's being done by people that have never been in a violent situation in their life, but now that they've been empowered with legal immunity and a uniform and numerical superiority, tactical superiority at a federal level, which even exceeds that of qualified immunity, now you're getting into the realm of absolute immunity to where they can kill you and nothing can be done about it. I'm going to say something, and I hope you do too, because this is something that we should say, that we should talk about. I'm going to school to pursue my degree in law. It starts on the 19th, this next semester, what I'm doing right now. So hey, I don't want to make this too long of a video, because it's already going to be like 20, 25 minutes. I'm not going to edit it. If you want to fast forward and hear what I got to say, cool. And if not, but minimum, you can go to church and create a community amongst yourselves. Okay? I believe in the goodness of people. be they white, be they black, be they Latino or Mexican, be they Chinese. Most people are good people. They see someone starving. Maybe extremely wealthy people might be the exception to that. But most other people are good people. And when my dad got out of the Marine Corps, and we grew up on a farm for a while in Iowa, I got my Nebraska shirt on. I can't think of anyone that I ever saw that would deny a hungry person food if they were willing to work for it. And I doubt anyone in my audience would either, even if they're a member of government authority. But there are some people that have been allowed to seek positions of power because they want to hurt people, and that's not something that we can allow. And we can't allow these oligarchs to sit there and think that we're their subjects, because we're not. This is still a free country. Okay? It's the freest country in the world, or at least it's supposed to be. And I was born free, and I'm going to die free. I'm going to love my wife for the rest of the days that I got left on this earth, and I'm going to try to do a good thing every day, trying to help somebody. This is who I am. And if you ever want to meet me in person or whatever, you don't like something I have to say, I will show up, man. Because, I mean, if I can show up in Mexico sticking out like a sore thumb against people that will cut off my head, I definitely have the wherewithal to talk to you. And this is my home. This is my dirt. I am a native son of California. This is my home. And I don't like Newsom. I don't like Kamala Harris letting people sit on death row. Even the guy was a scumbag. Exculpatory evidence, it's exculpatory evidence, and you need to be honest in all of your affairs, and the government is not. If the government treated you or me the way that they treat people without having the title government, they would be in prison. So hey, you know, I got some stuff I'm going to do. I'm going to stick some things in there to mix it up. You know, I went surfing and stuff. I'll maybe put some other stuff. I was playing piano earlier. The Police rocked the cats, but do. I'm just a human, man, just like you. Got my bike, I'd like to go for a ride. I'm not going to ramble on. That gentleman said what he had to say. I've said what I have to say. You either agree or you don't, but one thing that we can't be is apathetic. Minimum, get your ass to church. I know I need to, and I know we get busy. I work a lot of overtime. I work 2 jobs. They're stealing the United States from us. You'll own nothing and be happy, Klaus Schwab. Donald Trump, and I voted for Donald, talking about going door to door to round up illegal migrants. And then where's he going to ship them to? All those camps that were conspiracy camps? You had Homan just this morning talking about them building more camps on military bases because they know they can't fly all the people out of the country. So hey man, you know what? I don't give a damn what color you are, especially, you know, to you African Americans out there, and you Latinos. I've been getting these lasered off for a long time. I got them on both arms. I had them when I was younger. And I know when people see them, they feel a certain way about them. I want you to know, I take no issue with your skin color. I grew up with gangs just like a lot of your children do. Some of you Mexicans are some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life. And you can see I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a keyboard in the background. I play it. I go to black church, African American church all the time because I love your guys' organ and stuff like that. We need to come together as a people. And you law enforcement people, I know what it's like when you first go there and you get your uniform and go home thinking you're going to go out and change the world and stuff like that. But I have to tell you, and I know what goes on because I've been there. Not in this country, but in another country. And I know how it goes on. You need to be willing to step up. There's so many documented cases of police corruption in this country. Rampart, Serpico, the NYPD sodomizing the guy with the plunger, the torture place for the Chicago PD. I've lived in all these cities. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in New York. I've lived in LA. If you're wearing a badge, you need to be every bit. You know what? I'm going to say this. If you're an honest person and you're a cop, my respect to you, because you do not have an easy job. People hate you right now, and rightfully so. because there's so many people that just sit there and let everybody get away with everything, and we're depending on you to safeguard our freedom. I've often said a lot of times, no one can give you freedom. Freedom is something that you are inside, whether that Constitution exists or not. In fact, Thomas Jefferson says it when he's speaking about our rights coming from nature, from the laws of nature and the author of nature. Okay? That's where your freedom comes from. It does not sprout from the barrel of a weapon. It is something that you are intrinsically. However, there are people that protect it. Okay? And the police, I'm talking to you. The military, I'm talking to you. If someone that can make as many mistakes as I've made in my life can get it right, I'm hoping that you guys can all get it right too, and be the one that just refuses to let something stand. This is our world. God's in control of everything, but in these times, sometimes you wonder, is it the end times? I do. I wonder. I read the Bible. I read the book. I hope you do too. Please go to church. Please strengthen your church community. Please strengthen the solidarity of the family unit. I don't like what everyone's trying to do with the destruction of the family unit and the welfare state. I don't like either one of them. God bless you all.